Episode 57. Episode 57. It's episode 57 of Talking with Tasha. Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of Talking with Tasha. Today's episode, we are taking a moment to reflect on Black History Month. I will be chatting with Len Patterson George and Emmanuel Bassi from the Black Chamber of South Dakota. But before we get to that conversation, real quick, the only recommendation, I have two recommendations. I'll take that back. We're going to talk about books real quick, and then we're going to talk about some TV because this is Talking with Tasha, and that's what we do. If you're from the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area, which is where I live currently, it is a local sort of true crime story. And it is still, even though it happened back in 1971, I believe, it is still on people's minds as evidenced by the comment section on my Facebook. Anyway, the book is called Vanished in Vermilion. It's by Lou Ragusi, I think is how you say his last name. And coming up in March, I'm doing a joint episode with Local Lou where we will dive deeper into that book. So if you want to get prepared and read it in advance, go ahead and do that. It is also the book that was chosen for One Book Siouxland. There's a lot going on in this book, and it's kind of... Anyway, I'm going to save the big discussion, obviously, for the episode with Local Lou, but I wanted to recommend that to you. I finished it this last weekend, and all I did was post on my Instagram and Facebook. I just said simply, finish this book this weekend, and my Facebook exploded. People still have a lot of feelings about this case. So go ahead and read that so you will know what we're talking about when we do our episode in March with Local Lou. And the other recommendation I have is on Hulu. It's a show called Paradise, starring Sterling K. Brown, James Marsden. Those are the two I care about mostly. But it is from the same writers as This Is Us, and it's kind of the same storytelling format. But it is not a family drama tearjerker kind of thing. It is more of a apocalyptic whodunit kind of thing. So it's really good. James Marsden plays the president, and I'm not going to spoil. At the end of the first episode, there's kind of a like, what moment? So totally recommend that. And the thing I really like about Paradise, and I don't know, I'm sure other people have noticed it, but I like the way that they use music. This show keeps me guessing, and their song choices are perfection. James Marsden's character really likes like 80s and 90s hair band rock kind of songs. And so almost every episode has one of those songs in it. And so in the beginning of the episode, we hear the original. And then usually by the end, when they're kind of like wrapping up the episode, probably going to leave us with some sort of cliffhanger, there's like a moody cover of the same song. And the song usually kind of has something to do with the episode, like the theme. I don't know. I think it's genius. I love a good cover. So check it out. I wonder if there's a playlist somewhere of all the covers. Maybe I'll have to make one. I'm sure someone's beat me to it. But anyway, those are my recommendations. Read Vanished in Vermilion and watch Paradise on Hulu. So now let's get to the main attraction. Let's get into the conversation with Len Patterson George and Emmanuel Bassi from the South Dakota Black Chamber of Commerce. In this conversation, we'll talk about the Chamber's mission to empower and elevate Black enterprises across South Dakota through financial literacy, support for economic development. We also talk about some of the DEI initiatives that have been rolled back and just a conversation about Black-owned business and just what we can all do to support our locally owned, Black-owned businesses. And then, of course, there's some pop culture fun at the end. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Len Patterson George and Emmanuel Bassi from South Dakota Black Chamber of Commerce. Do you both want to just maybe introduce yourself and what you do at the chamber? We'll start there.
Well, I'm Len Patterson George. I am the president of the South Dakota Black Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for having us.
And I'm Emmanuel Bassi. I am the Vice President of Finance and Economic Development for the South Dakota Black Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to be on the podcast today. I've known Len for a while now through some Sioux Falls Chamber events, and we're finally doing this, so that's good. And so I guess my first question is, how long has the Black Chamber been in Sioux Falls?
Well, we had discussions and planning prior to us having our inaugural ribbon cutting, and that was February 1st of last year. And
Okay.
so we're a little bit over that year marker for us, milestone. It was a great reception, a wonderful welcome in the city of Sioux Falls. Of course, that's where we're headquartered, but we had our national president from the National Black Chamber of Commerce, who is one of our parent corporations, the National Black Chamber of Commerce, Charles DeBow. He came in and did the ribbon cutting and kind of the welcome, the induction into the chamber for this region. So we're really excited about it.
Did you take it upon yourself to bring it in, or how did it come about to be like, we need this here? What was the spark?
Yeah. I think for me the spark was, I'm still very acclimated within the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce, but I just saw that there were some needs that really needed to that really needed some specialized attention that I knew that our chamber didn't have the arms or the reach to do. And so, not taking anything away from them, it was just really realistically, on that inauguration night when the media came in and they interviewed me, I said something about we are the village that really takes care of our people. And I still believe that, a lot of times if the underrepresented don't have the tools that they need to succeed, I believe that sometimes it takes someone to rise up within that community to say, hey, we're going to provide for you those things that you need to help you to succeed and to flourish and to grow. 7 years of working within the greater chamber, I just really saw a need. And even before I launched out on this initiative, this journey with Emmanuel, I was able to sit down and talk to Jeff Griffin, our president for the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber, just to let him know kind of, this is really what is pressed upon my heart. This is my passion. And I really want to bring about change in this community, not just in Sioux Falls, but across South Dakota, because if minority businesses are suffering and struggling or are faced with challenges in my own community, connected to someone that had a greater vision and a greater mindset than what we had. And so we didn't have to reincorporate the will. We aligned ourselves both with the United States Black Chamber in Washington, D.C. and the National Black Chamber in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was, you guys were still under that giant umbrella kind
Yeah,
of, Yeah.
absolutely.
What is the mission of the Black Chamber?
Part of what we're doing is, just like she had said earlier, to help minority businesses in multiple capacities, definitely with financial literacy for people or businesses who are trading in or who are in commerce and trade. You have to understand the etiquette of business and just all the tools necessary. And we're trying to help people who are trying to progress, not just to grow business, but to scale businesses, help scale businesses. I know in my entrepreneurial experience, I've been doing a lot of micro lending to businesses, minority businesses in our community. And I felt that that was something that was necessary to be done with more protections. And doing so through the chamber and then partnering with the SBA, that's what we're doing is giving people access to foundational money or SBA loans or tradition, just giving them explorative benefits of what's necessary for the task that they're trying to accomplish. So each business unique has a unique challenge, and you have to make sure you're understanding what's going on in each business and seeing how you can aptly help to like the appropriate measures to help in that situation. I'm working in economic development, and so I mean finances are huge when it comes to helping a business scale.
And I'm sure a lot of people, when starting a business, don't realize the options out there. A traditional bank loan or something might not be there, but there are grants and other things that maybe they could get. And I'm sure you help with a lot of that.
And just to tag on to what Emmanuel said, if you go to our website, it clearly defines that our mission really is to empower and elevate Black enterprises across South Dakota. It's really short and sweet, and we do that with a plethora of things. Financial literacy, of course, being one of the key aspects, is access to capital. And so, and that's just one of the ways that we are, like Emmanuel said, with financial literacy, financial etiquette, but then also along the lines of the economic empowerment, economic development, being able to walk through with them through every process, through every step. And I'll use for an example, one of the minority business owners is in town. She's from Africa, and she's been in business for 18 years. And so, one of the things she said was, she's been very successful at her business, but now she's older. She wants to turn that trade over to her daughter, who has now gone to school and has that skill set. And one of the markers she said was, I went into a bank because now I want to do this. I want to do something different. And so she walked into the banker, and the banker goes, okay, where's your business plan? And so you would have to understand her story to understand how she ended up being in business for 18 years. It was because she was in a new environment and something catastrophic happened to her when she moved here to America. And so she just remembered what worked for her in her country to bring in revenue to help her family. And so she just did it, and it grew, it blossomed. So she didn't have a checkpoint system, I have my performa done, or I have my market research, or I have my business plan. She just did the business and it grew. And so now that she's at a different venture in her life, she now wants to branch into something new. And so when she goes into a banker, for her, it's just, no one taught me these things. I didn't know.
Hmm.
And so being able to sit down with her and say, well, this is really how this system works. And let us help walk you through that, whether we're partnering with another parent organization like a SDBC or a SBA, or a startup Sioux Falls for literacy, or a banker in town, but really sitting that client down or that business owner down and saying, we're going to walk with you through inception to succession. We want to be that
Yeah.
guide and that tool, that resource to really help you thrive and grow.
Finances are obviously one of the big obstacles, but what are some of the other challenges that Black owned businesses face today?
Well, I will speak from the aspect of discrimination. And you see that kind of twofold, I think. Some of it is, I know there's a Black business there. They don't really cater to me. They're a Black business, so I won't do commerce and trade with them. So being able to think outside the box, or market discrimination from the aspect of making sure there's no discrimination, where a business owner can go into their businesses and operate and exchange commerce and trade products and services without fear, threat, or intimidation. And so that is really huge. The market discrimination aspect, twofold. The access to capital, that is a huge part as well. But then also having networking opportunities for those Black business owners where they can grow and thrive. One of the things that we're doing right now is, because there has been some episodes of market discrimination, let me say, in our community, is how do we strategically align ourselves to have actionable solutions? And I'm grateful that we do have parent organizations with the national that we can always reach out to. Look for ways that we can partner with larger organizations, whether that is a Sioux Falls PD, whether that is another organization in town, to be able to break the stigma and to break the racial divide. And so the tools that we are seeing that we're using, but also some of the challenges that we see that minority business owners are facing.
I mean, you've even just mentioned a few things in this first 10 minutes where I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that, just even these other ways to reach out for help. And are there any trends you're seeing right now with Black business owners, or certain industries that are having a lot of growth, or anything like that?
I can't speak to a trend. I think everyone's trying to blossom in terms of business, but we don't have a lot of data to pull from. Minority businesses are a lot of service-based businesses. That's really what they are. So In terms of placement for minority businesses, it would just be service-based businesses. Hmm.
Yep, yep. And that is true. You do find a lot of minority businesses, Natasha, that are service-based businesses. But I will add this from national statistics. Based on national statistics from 2023, this is the data that we have now consolidated. Really, Black-owned businesses only make up about 6% of the
Oh.
businesses in America. But that is really about 3.12 million businesses. And we have annual receipts of over $206 billion. So Black spending power, it looks like it's actually increased from 2021. So when you look at those statistics and you look at those numbers, you might say, well, it's very small, marginalized. And I think even in South Dakota, I believe the statistics, I believe, is at 1.9%. But when you look at that contribution, when you sit back and go, oh, it's only 6% of businesses, what is everyone squawking about, right? Why do we need a Black chamber? Well, when you begin to look at the revenue that is actually bought in, and how that we are the biggest spenders, and the contributions, I believe that with those statistics that we even brought in over 3 million jobs that were produced from Black businesses, Black wealth. So when you look at that in terms of the big picture, it really shows the value of Black enterprises.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's something that might be a little more relatable for people, and I'm like a pop culture person. So when it comes to like black-led movies or TV shows, for a long time there was this thought they don't make money, why should we make them, whatever. But there's been many examples, like Black Panther, for example. Like
Mhm.
it was huge, so
Yeah,
it's we
yeah,
should invest in these types of things because there is an audience and it is crossing all these genres, and so
yes,
it's that's a more to me, that's when you said that, I was like, yeah, because I think of like movies and stuff, but it's
yeah.
in everything, really,
Right, right. Yeah.
And I guess you've talked a little bit about this, but what policies have had the biggest impact on Black businesses in recent years? And really recently, I'm wondering some of these DEI initiatives that have been rolled back. How do you think that's going to impact Black owned businesses?
Well, in terms of this DEI topic, I mean, we have to speak to what it is. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, in theory, it's a great idea. It's just the way that it's been implemented over this country, it had hasn't been policed properly. It has not been implemented properly, and there's no like set standards. So that's the issue. We need to re-examine DEI's impact, but I mean, really it hasn't helped close the gap in inequity or inequality. I would say it's been more of a status quo focus, and it does change in hiring and promotions and economic mobility for Black professionals. But if we talk about raw numbers or raw data, I mean, we just haven't seen enough of an example, because I mean, to where it's a success instead of a failure. A central role is to secure our civil rights, and we get a lot of persistent economic and social inequities. And so when we're talking about the median net worth of Black families in 2023, it was just 24,100, and compared to 188,200 for white families. So it highlights a widening wealth gap, and DEI has failed to address the core issue, and it sometimes leaves Black communities struggling to accumulate wealth and resources. So we have to tackle those subjects and try and help our minority community. And that's the reason why, like our organization, we're looking at wealth and resources and education. And all of those things help tackle and solve one, initiative at a time, solve our community problems.
I go back and forth with the DEI initiatives because I do think in some ways, like you say, it hasn't done enough. But then I wonder, with them going away, is that too far a step back? I know things still need to be re-examined, but it seems like two steps forward, one step back kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's hard to speak to that, but I just have to say, like I said, it's well intentioned, And but it's
It's a
diversity.
tricky topic to
Yes,
talk about
the
for sure.
the
Yeah.
disparities and to ensure diversity, equity, and inclusion, we've historically been denied access to certain benefits, and DEI has failed to drive the deep-rooted change that's long overdue. So we have to have a conversation, and we have to move it from a surface level inclusion to transformative action. So we have to see things not where we have like token people who are showing, okay, well, this is a black person in this sector, but it has to actually drive more interest in those sectors so that that way you can see tangible change, not just a token person in a place of leadership. We have to
Hmm.
see that we have to see the needle move, not just placement. That's probably the best
Hmm.
way I could say it's there's some businesses that have done it well and some that have not.
Yeah.
Costco would be one example to where they're not getting rid of their DEI programs, but for good reason. They did DEI well. They did DEI
Yeah.
well, so it wasn't just the premise of the idea. They're doing it effectively to where you're seeing shift and you're seeing prioritization and you're seeing, supplier diversity. Like that's a good thing too. We're not
Hmm.
just looking at optics. So like I said, across the board, DEI has failed, but there has been pockets where people have utilized it properly.
Hmm. And I guess we should even last week, Len and I were talking about this a little bit. And DEI is not just people of color; it's also women and differently abled people, and it spans a lot of. It includes a
It
lot of things. So
impacts, yes.
yeah.
It impacts a lot more than just color, and unfortunately, our country, just the way that we are, you start talking about taking away DEI, everyone's like, oh, that's the black card. But it's not a black card. It's the women in business. It's the disabled. It's the veteran-owned business. It's the LGBTQ community. So this is this whole pocket of diversity, that is sitting there that's being impacted by the laws that, and new measures that are governing us. And as Emmanuel said, we just have to really take off the lens, because it has been kind of a token misrepresentation. Take off the lens and really see clearly and define clearly what do DEI measures, what do they mean? And for us, because our goal is again to elevate and empower those black enterprises, again looking at what does that mean for the minority business owner.
You mentioned your website, but how can new or aspiring entrepreneurs connect with the chamber if they want to know more or learn how they can benefit from certain programs?
Yeah, so we always try to push people to our website, which is www.sdbcc.org. Also, you can find us on social media platforms. We are on LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as Facebook. And so you can reach out to us. If you go out to our website, there's a way that you can, if you're interested in volunteer opportunities, you can click and give us some information. Someone will reach out to you. We have a volunteer orientation also out to our members, at least on a weekly basis. With this month being dedicated to Black History Month, every Saturday we are really showcasing and spotlighting someone in Black history that has really contributed to America. And it's not taking away from American history. Black history is part of Americans' history. And so being able to highlight
Say it
those
louder for people in the back.
but being able to really tap into those innovators that have really contributed to the American legacy. And so you can reach out to us through any of those platforms. I will say this, we do have on April 3rd, just to give kind of a shout out for us, we're having our inaugural small business gala night, and it's $80 a ticket, but silent auction, exquisite cuisine. We have a national speaker from our National Black Chamber of Commerce who will be our featured speaker. And then that evening, we have an award ceremony as well. And then we're going to kind of tap it off a little bit early, and we're going to have a DJ and we're going to have fun. And so,
Yeah.
a nice evening for anyone who wants to come out and connect with other entrepreneurs, with bankers, A lot of our affiliates and partners will be there as well. And so we just invite the public to come out and to have fun with us that evening.
What advice would you give to someone starting a business in today's economy?
Market research. Market research. That's the biggest thing. And then also have mentors. Mentors to help you navigate the future, because at the end of the day, it's not necessarily that you know everything. It's that you have access to the to all the tools that are necessary. What we're doing is more so giving people tools. We're giving them access to tools. We have a plethora of them because we're working with diverse subsets. We're also working with diverse partnerships between banks, between government, between everything that we could do. We're looking at those we're looking at
No, you're
those
good.
avenues that can greatly impact minority businesses.
Do you happen to have a success story you could share with us? I know you've only really been doing this a year, but is there someone that like reached out and is just like killing it? Is there, I don't know, just a feel good story?
We do have a feel good story. I don't know if we're ready to market it, but I think
Yeah.
Emmanuel, I just have to say kudos to him. He really, when you talk about hands on from inception to seeing them actually to the end, finish a course, be able to open a business, and to maneuver with all of the tools in pocket. Like he really has aced one of our newest members. And again, we can't really kind of get the cat out of the bag, but he has really done an excellent job at really being in front and center, connecting them with the right resources, making sure that they're in front of the right bankers, making sure they have all of the documentation appropriate, in an appropriate manner. And so we're just so grateful. This past week, we just got good news about them and about even their loan process. Everything has worked out. And so I'll let him share a little bit of that tidbit without giving out too much of it. But man, it's such a good story though. You're going to want to catch up with us a little bit later to see how they're doing.
We do. At the end of the day, we're helping businesses, and we're working with multiple at this time. I'm working with multiple businesses. I mean, from when it comes to the location, where it comes to lease agreements. I mean, we're making sure that they have all of the right tools to succeed and to grow, especially in Sioux Falls. This is 2025, and multiple businesses are trying to spread their wings in different avenues. So I say kudos to all of these entrepreneurs who have the mindset for it. But then it's also a great thing to be able to work with them, and it's great for us to market to the general public as how we help minority business owners. And so it's not a specific subset; it's just minority business owners. And so people who are not exposed to areas of business, those are the ones that we challenge to help them level up.
And even talking about having proper documentation and all those things, like it's tax time right now. And I don't own a business, but it still stresses me out. So I can't imagine, having to have all your ducks in a row. And good on you guys for helping with all that. Cause even I'm like, what? you know, so you mentioned a couple events coming up and, networking. You mentioned that a little bit earlier, but how does the Black Chamber of Commerce foster networking and collaboration among its members?
So we do that with a series of educational topics that we have on generally our monthly calendar. And so you'll start to see that we just came out of our strategic planning cycle, but you'll start to see that formalize again on our website, the different events that we'll be able to host. A lot of that too is partnering with other organizations, whether it's the SBA that's offering education, whether it's a Greater Sioux Falls Chamber, whether it's a Startup Sioux Falls, what have you. And so we like to partner with our different constituents in the community. If the will is already created, we don't need to redesign it. We just need to follow the rule of thumb, right? And so being able to highlight some of the educational series that we have financial bankers that come in and speak specifically to the minority mindset on financial literacy. There might be some nuggets in there as well. We also have something on every third Thursday called Live at 5 o'clock. We usually team up with another minority business, and it's like a chamber mixer. Ours is a little bit different, where it's not so much networking. It really is about education, 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 teaching that entrepreneurship. And so those are some of the things that we like to highlight and showcase. Generally, from February until August, that's our peak season. We are very community focused, very engaged in the community, and very much accountable to our event schedule, the events that we have. And so we like to host, different type of networking events, but generally in our networking arena, there's always a nugget of education that you could take back with you.
Do you guys do much with the Hispanic Chamber?
We tend to do some things with them, not a lot. I know with the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce, we all come together for their business fair in June.
Oh, yep.
We have our women's and men's health summits. That's generally open to brown and black communities. And so we do some things with them also, in us visiting also with the Sioux Falls PD around that market discrimination, being able to provide some opportunities also to talk to some professionals in the police department that would be able to
Mhm.
give some education on safety and prevention. So there are avenues where we could cross exchange and do some things together. And then also, we have to understand that our needs are a little bit differently. What we do and what Selena does with the Hispanic Chamber is a little bit different. She goes in and they're teaching English as a second language, and they're teaching, people how to become documented immigrants. And
Mhm.
so, there's a need, I believe, for all of our chambers, but I also like it, where the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber says, you know what? It's time for us to sit down together and come together collectively. You bring your members, and we'll all come together. And so I really like that place of unity, because I think we need more of that in our communities to be able to help all of the businesses that we serve, whether it's the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber or the Hispanic or the Black Chamber, but to help
Mhm.
anyone in business with that business mindset succeed and thrive and grow.
What role can large corporations or just even some policies play in supporting Black-owned businesses?
We just have to do the right work. So larger corporations, they just have to, it's not just about buzzwords. You have to create something that it has to accurately reflect your workforce or your community. So anything that you do and you don't see your community or a proper representation of your community, that's one thing you should start thinking of paying more attention to. I don't know, like I just have to I think we need to challenge each other in business and in growth, because we have to look at different people's experiences and see like maybe that could be a plus in business. I mean, all scenarios are different when it comes to different businesses because they're all doing different things. But at the end of the day, we need to start talking about bringing people together to to dismantle barriers. We want to make sure that people are given the same chances, regardless of their socioeconomic status or their class. But we just have to still also work on the cores of business itself, which is is someone capable? Are they functional? I don't think we should lower bars. We shouldn't be lowering bars. We should just be making sure we're giving equal access.
Yeah, it's just all about the opportunity,
Hmm.
right? Give them the opportunity to do the work.
Hmm.
What steps can other small businesses or maybe even me as a consumer, like what can we do to be better allies, to better support minority owned business? Obviously shop there, but is there anything besides that or is that just the obvious answer? Speak with your money.
People should just do a lot more of like reaching out and trying new things, trying new suppliers, trying new vendors, making sure that you're actually being effective, bringing about change in the habits that you I don't know how to to properly take to go through it without saying like we just have to be curious to try new things and to include other things into what we normally do.
Yep.
It's
I,
funny you say that because I don't know if you watch Ted Lasso, but there's a whole episode where he talks about instead of judging, just be curious,
yep. Yep.
learn more. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That's what I wanted to add on to what he said. It's really just think outside the box, right? No one wants to be in a box. We will scratch our way to get out of it. And so a lot of times, you don't know, you know, per se, but the only way you're going to find out is that you're going to have to kind of put that curious George hat on, right? And say, hey, this is different. It's a different restaurant, and I'll use for an illustration. One time Emmanuel and I, we were doing something and he took me someplace and I went to go eat. I had never been there before. And he was speaking Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but they were speaking Spanish. And she bought me something. And I went, oh my God, I can't eat that. Right. And I looked at her and I went, whoa, wait, and it was a culture shock to me. And then I said to her, wait, I like it, but can you change something? And it was so simple. It was a fish and it was brought out and it was staring at me. And I was just like, can you just cut the head off there? And then I could digest it. But I was still willing to sit there and to have that experience, to make that exchange, right? Because it was a new experience. I didn't want to just, you know, have a sour taste in my mouth. It was about this is something new. It's a new challenge for me. And what we have to understand, Natasha, and I said this to someone a couple of weeks ago. I said, no longer can we say Sioux Falls is changing. If there are over 119 languages spoken in our schools, Sioux Falls has changed. Our
Mm-hmm.
world has changed. And so the only way we're going to brace for that is that we all have to be open to say, you know what? You might be different. You may look different. You may dress different. You may eat different, right? But we have to coexist. And so
Right.
sometimes just showing that extension of kindness, that extension of unity, we don't all have to go home together, but we do have to coexist. And so just being able to outline, this is something new for me. This is it's challenging. But sometimes if we just say, I'm just going to something new. I'm going to say something to a group of people I've never said anything to. I'm going to a restaurant I've never been to. I'm going to have a shopping experience in a climate that it doesn't look like something I would wear, but I just want to see, I want to be exposed to it. Then that's when we're able to really grasp that and see the true significance of why those businesses are needed in our community and the change that we bring about.
Thinking
Oh, go
outside
ahead.
the
No.
box also is key to me for for growing your entrepreneurial curiosity. So
Yeah.
if you talk about the business of commerce and trade, I think that you always have to that's a recurring term is thinking outside the box.
This is kind of a tough question, but how do you see the future of Black owned businesses evolving in the future? Or like even in the next year or two? What do you think the outlook is?
For me, I'm quite optimistic when I think about it. And someone had said something to me the other day, and it was a question around DEI, and I got a little, I don't know, I was on edge a little bit, and so I don't think my answer was probably the best answer. And I said something, we've never needed a lot to succeed. Because if you really look at it in history, we've never had a lot. We never got accolades because while Black people were innovators creating things because they were working it, they still weren't allocated the due respect or the honor for those creations, because a lot of times those Blacks that were working in the field, working in the house, the slave house, they were known as property. They weren't seen as people, as individuals. And so if I created something and I worked for someone that was over me, they got all the accolades, they got the patent, but it didn't stop the innovation. It didn't stop the creativity. It didn't stop them for having that entrepreneur mindset. And let me just add this on. And I'm doing another speech for a university coming up here in a couple of weeks. But I went back and I started looking at the contributions that African Americans have made in America. And I'm sitting here looking, and I said, wow, they even in ancient times, Africans were very innovative. You look at the Nok tribe, they had, ironwork. You look at Egypt, the Egyptians with the pyramids, with architects, the Malis with agriculture. So they always have had this mindset of business. But when you
Right.
take someone and you kind of isolate them to this journey of racism and segregation, and you're being underrepresented, whether that's in housing or jobs or fairness of trade, etc., it's somewhat difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But I don't think that Black ingenuity is going anywhere. I don't think the innovation of the Black mindset is going anywhere. If anything, I still see it thriving. That's
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons we exist, to make sure that they have the tools and that are essential for them to get from point A to point B, to jump and to upscale from point B to point D. And so I just think that as our community grows, we're going to start to see more and more businesses, more and more trade opportunities for us to become acclimated with. I don't know what that number will look like. When you look at it again on a national statistics of three some million versus a 6% margin. You look at 1.9% of businesses, minority businesses in the state. I don't know where that will go, but I do know that we are here and we're thriving and we're moving from level to level.
I even got goosebumps a little when you said I've always done more with less,
We've
whatever
always
that
done it.
phrase.
Yeah.
I was like, ah,
Well,
put it on
someone
a
says,
shirt.
well, they said DEI is based on a merit basis, and I think that's what drove me. It kind of put an angst in me, and they go, it's a merit. And I go, no one's never given us anything. We've always worked with scraps,
Yeah.
but we've always succeeded. We've always looked to a higher source, whether that is our own ingenuity, whether that is a spiritual faith, whatever. We've always come together to have a mindset of getting out of what? That box. So we
Mm-hmm.
always want to remember, don't die in that box, come out of it.
Because on Talking with Tasha, at my heart, I'm a pop culture person, being on the radio, that's the kind of stuff I, I like it. And so obviously we're taking a turn here, but I just want to know what you guys are, or if you have recommendations, like something you're binge watching right now that you really like, something you're listening to, a, a song you want everyone to check out, a podcast, a book, a movie, a TV. Do you have a recommendation of something like that?
Emmanuel, I'll let you go. You're the music person.
Okay. So are you just saying like across the board, or what do you mean?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be related to anything we've talked about, just something
Nope.
you're really liking right
Just
now.
you. Yep.
Like music wise?
Anything, yeah.
Oh Lord. I can't think right now. There's so many
There's
things
so
that,
many artists and so many
yeah.
genres, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah.
I like gosh, I'm trying to think of what it is. But what he's doing is pushing genres together, and it's more for classical pieces, and that's the thing that I've been watching a lot, or listening to a lot of. It's at Levi.sct,
Okay.
and so I know he has a Fur Elise song and some other songs too. But yeah.
Len, do you have any recommendation? Anything?
Oh, not music wise. I like all
Well, no,
genres
like
of music.
what you been watching? Anything we should check
Oh,
out or
I
anything?
don't really have time to watch television a lot. I do. I really don't. And if I do, I'm really watching like, oh, I really wanted to see that movie. Now, I will tell you of some movies I have seen that I like, action packed. My favorite series was The Walking Dead, but they're no longer
Okay.
with us. So you see all of the,
Yep.
but I had a chance to see, what was it called? Craven the Hunter.
Oh,
Very good
okay.
movie. It's out on Prime right now. You could pay for it, but very good movie. It is a cross mix for me. It's from Marvel, so
Okay.
it's from Marvel, but it's a cross mix to me of Marvel and X-Men. So
Okay.
it's kind of a blend, and that's what's unique about it. It's like it's nonstop action, and Natasha, you will love it. Natasha the Russian spy, because it's in Russia. It starts off in Russia, and they're speaking Russian. So
Well, I don't know any Russian. I'm only like
I know you
3%
don't,
Eastern Europe.
but you're a Russian spy. So, but it starts off in Russia. But I mean, this guy, it's like nonstop action the entire movie, and they leave it open for a sequel, for a part two. And the
Okay.
part two will be, you already know it, it's going to be him against his brother. So if you
Okay.
haven't seen it, it's called Craven the Hunter. Very good, very awesome movie. The other night, I saw also The Gorge. It's on Apple Television. Not what I
Well,
expected. Of course, I
I
kind of
have
like
heard
those.
of that one.
Yep, very good. But I'm gonna tell you, underline, it's a love story.
Mm, lame.
It's a
No, just
love
kidding.
story. So yeah, it's a
That
it's a
Craven.
romance. It's a romance novel thrown in with a bunch of like evil spirits, monsters, and hunting, and all of that. The boom and the bang of the guns and the bullets. But at the end,
Cool.
it's a love story.
You recommending that Craven the Hunter movie, just in the time that I've known you, that surprises me. I don't know why I didn't think that would be your pick, but
Oh, I love those type of anything that's like action packed, survival, apocalypse, end of the times. How are we going
yeah.
to survive? But the Craven thing, it was just like, oh, it's action. And it was just a very unique type of action just because of his dynamic. He's kind of like a Wolverine-ish type guy, but not
Okay.
much better than Wolverine. But you definitely have to see it. Definitely.
And it just goes to show I shouldn't judge a book by its cover
There you
just
go.
because we've, you know. One more time, I want you guys to just tell people where they can find you, events coming up.
Our business gala is April the 3rd, and you can go to our website for more information, our SD or www.sdbcc.org.
Or they can call the chamber too, 605-622-0335. We'll be more than happy to visit with anyone.
You just said with anyone. So I am kind of curious. What if someone asks for your help that do they have to be a person of color or will you just kind of
We
help
don't.
anybody?
Yep. And we have a non-discrimination clause attached to our mission statement, because you talk about the elevation and the empowerment of Black enterprises. But we also say, too, that we don't discriminate against any race, creed, religion, sex, orientation, etc. People are people. And at the end of the day, they want help. And they want help that's moving them in the right direction, especially when they have that entrepreneur mindset. And if they can't get it from one end, but they can get it somewhere else, then okay, let us unite. It's about helping. In helping people, we help our community. And it doesn't matter what race, creed, color. It's about helping our community succeed and thrive. And that's really what we're called to do.
I love that. I guess that's a good way to end it, right? I'm like, that's all I had. Unless you have anything else you want to add or
I don't
should
have
I get,
anything else to say, but I want to at least thank you for taking the time to really think outside the box, to do something different, to give a little pause for Black history, to fully understand a little bit more about why the Black Chamber exists and the work that we do to break the stigma and the stereotypes, because some people think that we're just here and we're only about Black people. And it's about the minority mindset, really helping people succeed and thrive. And again, it goes back to my last statement. This is our community. And if it's changing, we have to change with it. And we just
mm-hmm.
want to make sure we have the tools in place to be able to help entrepreneurs move forward. And so I thank you again for the opportunity, for thinking outside the box, for trying something new. Everything from having someone of color be on to pause for Black History Month. I thank you. It's been rewarding. So thanks again.
Well, like you said, I feel like I've always tried to be curious. My college roommate was a religion I didn't know anything about. We'd have a lot of conversations. Just not everybody's raised like you are. Like I like learning about other people and just because we all have something to share. We all have a story. And I've always liked that idea of just being curious. And I try not to judge things I don't know anything about. So like I want to know more about it because then I can judge it. No, just but I
Right.
just try to be
Yeah,
educated. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
how can you have an opinion on something you don't know anything about? So I try to,
true.
reserve
Yeah,
judgment till I know more. But yeah,
absolutely.
and I thank you for also taking the time and talking with me and putting up with my silliness. But anyway,
We'll have to do another interview where it's not so intense.
yeah, we'll
Maybe
try
on
to keep.
maybe on music, pop culture, because Emmanuel, he did such a phenomenal job, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I know. But
All right. Thank
bye.
you
Thank you.
so much again. Take care.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Talking with Tasha. I hope you learned a lot, maybe feel enlightened, maybe feel inspired by that conversation with Elen and Emmanuel from the Black Chamber of South Dakota. Real quick, part of Len explaining how you can contact them was weirdly cut out. The technical difficulties keep coming for me. But anyway, they do have an email newsletter that goes out. That is where they have been sending out information about important historical figures for this whole month of February. So make sure you check that out. Check out their website, Facebook, Instagram. I will have it all linked at talkingwithtasha.com, as well as all the ways you can contact me, talkingwithtashapod@gmail.com. I'm on Cameo. I'm on Fiverr. I'm on all the social medias. I'm doing the TikToks. I'm doing the Reels. I'm keeping it real is what I'm doing. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, share, like, comment, tell all your friends about Talking with Tasha. I would really appreciate it. I think there's only one thing left to do. Be safe, make good choices, wash your hands, just try to be a good person, stay hydrated, and peace out, Brussels sprout. Bye.